Why the dedication to Sandra and Lynette's work and the world of eco-terrorism?
Lynette Fromm and Sandra Good. Yeah, they were, or they are Manson girls, but I never thought that they got their due credit as the eco terrorists that they are. And yes, it's true that Lynette got the cover of Time for being the first female to and it's to attempt an assassination on a president. And Sandra served 15 years for sending threatening letters to the CEOs of uh, corporations she felt were poisoning the earth. I just think that the book was inspired by their unrelenting spirit to protect the earth at all costs. Though their methods are questionable, I wasn't thinking too much to that. I wrote the book during a very dark time in my life, and there was a lot of inner chaos.
How would you describe this story, this book, in one sentence?
It's a hunter catching her prey and following her following her inner instinct, even though the world around her is coming apart at the seams.
Why you're inspired to write about the setting of LA. It's such a fascinating place. Obviously, a lot of great books have been written about LA, a lot of great movies set in LA. I think it's just the whole Hollywood Tinseltown, star-making machine, the city of haves and have-nots, which you portray so subtly but really well in your book. If you could just speak to that.
When you go to touch it, it's not there. Um, and it's also a mutant. It adapts, it changes, it becomes whatever it's called to become. It's like a living movie set, and it always, this has always been its primary function, and that's inspiring. And I have a love-hate relationship to it, like a lot of people do, and it was kind of fun just to burn it all to the ground.
How much is music important to your writing? The book is filled with songs about LA, bands from LA. I love the whole DJ section that's filtered throughout. It adds so much humor and so I just wanted you to speak a little bit about like music as an influence to your art, music as an influence on this book.
The the local LA garage bands, like the ones in the book, have inspired me over the years. Um, I listen to music while I write. I do a lot of other things as I write. I need as much input as I can possibly get. And it totally added like a new dimension to the book that I hadn't planned on.
Bad Girls. Let's talk a little bit about Bad Girls. I love Bad Girls, good bad girls, bad girls. And you have such a great dynamic of that in your book with the protagonist kind of being a bad girl in and of herself in Stokes, the detective who wears all black and is kind of this like dark, almost like punk rock and roll figure detective who takes psychedelics to find her man, so to speak, or women in this case, or whatever they are, wink, wink. And then also the three antagonists who are great villains, but I also think great anti-heroes as well.
I like writing characters who you're not sure whether to root for or not, but you want to follow them, and that's really interesting to me. And it was a riot to write this book because it was pretty much villain against villain, but you were also kind of rooting for both. You know, at least I am.
When I was reading the book, I kept thinking about goddesses of revenge. And so I started looking at who are some goddesses of revenge. And one that I came up with that I thought was really appropriate was Wadjet, who's an Egyptian goddess, the Lady of the Flame, who is a serpent goddess who uses fire to burn her enemies like a snake spitting venom. So obviously I think you've conjured her up, even though she doesn't technically appear in the book. But just speaking a little bit to these goddesses of revenge and ideas around like these spirits that come from the earth, that come from within, that are basically coming for revenge on the humans who have fucked up the planet, the connection to nature, and these types of spirits.
At first, wasn't planning on naming. I was at the Philosophical Research Society, the PRS here in LA, and I just happened upon a lecture about Lilith and the myth, and I heard all kinds of stuff I never had heard, and I just applied that into the book and just decided that these things that well, I don't want to say too much, but they do hail from somewhere. But all these myths are all connected at the roots, and that's important to think about because we don't know where all of this stuff ultimately comes from, and it's that mystery that kind of scares us and drives us also.
I know you're interested in aliens, and so just talking a little bit about, you mentioned it a couple of times in the book and then the description of the three women, so just curious about if you were thinking about what you were thinking about aliens in any kind of way.
Whether they come from space, they come from between dimensions, who knows. The idea of something non-human slipping on a human suit and human clothing and trying to kind of fit in and trying to pass as human, and just the overall creepy vibe of that, the kind of, oh, they look human but they're not quite right. Visually, I think that just like sticks in your mind, and it's really creepy and something that I definitely thought about, and I really enjoyed writing. Yeah.
I think of LA as being a really ghosty town, you know, this kind of overwhelming element of the past constantly coming into play. Like, you know, you see all these dead movie stars painted on murals, the Hollywood Walk of Fame, all of this kind of stuff. And so I think of it as being a town who kind of worships the past, its own past, and yet at the same time has no respect for its like past architecture and the underbelly of the darkness that was created in the building of LA, the corruption and great darkness underneath this city in general. And those ghosts that maybe are like infiltrating this element of darkness there, you know, there's this great beautiful land and this beautiful light and palm trees, and always the sun is shining for the most part, and the ocean and the hills and the bougainvillea and all these things. But at the same time, there's this very darkness as the sun goes down.
For such a small book, it's very haunted. Stokes herself is haunted by her old partner who died, by her father, the ghost of her father, the ghost of the past. I mean, this is about burning the past, which LA often does. It's about the ghost of no future, like the kind of specter of, you know, we don't have a future at the moment, or it's hard to envision a future. the specter of just our, kind of our sins as humans coming back to haunt us. If you do not confront your past will confront you. I believe that. And it is. I think the reader can probably pick out their own ghost that they can see in the book. I think it's endless. It's a very haunted book. Like I mentioned, I wrote this at a very dark time. So, yeah, again, haunted.